Welcome back to Land a House. I get 2 extra days off this week, which is really awesome, and I hope to use them wisely. So the first thing I'd like to tackle is this mess here in front of the house. I've got some water tanks and the old river pump attempt, and just some wood and these extra pieces of vinyl siding and a bucket and all this stuff. So my hope is to have a 12 by 12 metal tent tarp to have room for the ATV and some lawnmowers and trailer and all that good stuff. But before I can get that installed, I have to clean up. So what I'm going to do is make a spot for all of this behind the tiny house. So it's all out of the way, but I can still get to it. Also, I want to move the old wood pile that I have, the lumber pile, back there as well. And then probably put a tarp over it to keep it just out of the rain and all that good stuff. So let's jump to it. All right, I'm going to separate this stuff into 2 piles. One pile is the put behind the tiny house pile, and the other pile goes to the workshop. So these pipes are for ram pump pressure tanks, and that means they need to go into the workshop. So get those out of the way first. Okay, so to store things behind the tiny house, I definitely want to put the vinyl siding pieces that they're just extras for if we ever have an issue. And I don't really care if they get wet or anything, so I'm gonna just move them back there. When the guys built the porches for our house, they had these leftover boards, and I purchased them in order to one day extend the porches some. And so there's 4, I guess, what, 2 by 14s? They're huge. So I'm going to take those down to behind the tiny house as well, but they're so heavy. I guess maybe I can put them on the back of the 4-wheeler and just get them down to right there, and just do one at a time. So here are my 2 piles. I've got the vinyl siding and the tubs, and then some pipe down there. And then over here, that's going to be part of my ATV trailer. And then I've got a bucket. I'm going to take this apart since it didn't work. And then the pressure tanks for ram pumps. I've got the old river pump here that just is not going to work from a flawed design. I thought I would remove all the hardware and save that. Probably save this hose too. You never know when you'll need a old garden hose for something. Well, my boss has called me about 6 times, and she needs some computers set up and a deadbolt changed at work. So plans just changed on me, but I did get some stuff done. Looks a lot better. This stuff is so heavy, I think I can put it on the 4-wheeler and move it. So that'll be good. Get that out of there. And I haven't touched the lumber pile down there yet. But so even though it's my day off today, I still have to go in and work. So, but of course, I'll bring you along for that too. Here's the deadbolt that I have to replace. For some reason, the key just spins and spins on the other side. So I'm just going to replace the whole thing and be done with it. I'm locked in here forever. I'll never get out. Okay, I just got that installed. Seems to work fine there. And then got it back here where it there we go. Works good there. Okay, now these 2 boxes here are computers that I have to get installed. So those will be next. I think Emma's getting tired of this place too. So I'm off these 2 days and I've already worked 6 hours. Oh well. Man, that's like record timing. It took me 30 minutes to unpack and set up this computer and get it working properly. Now I got to dispose of this giant box of trash, and then Emma and I We're gonna go work out at the gym, I believe. Emma's learned to sit up over the past week, I would say, and she's doing really well. And always so happy first thing in the morning. It's been well over a week since I planted that grass down by the house, and it hasn't rained since the hurricane. So I have turned on the 1-inch ram pump and run several hundred feet of garden hose up the hill here. And this is the results I'm getting up here at the barrels. As you can see, quite a good flow there. So what I'm going to do is hook this up to the end of the barrel. There we go. All right, I'm gonna get this in here so that these barrels will fill up and I can use the water from this to water the grass. So I just have one hose that is filling the bottom of those tanks. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna come down here to a Y connector at this point right here. And I have a one-way valve, so the water can come up from the ram pump and won't be able to go back down. And then I can turn on this Y connector and water will come down from the barrels and up from the pump and go this way, and I'll be able to water the grass. I've got 200 and maybe 20 feet of garden hose, and that should be enough to get me most of the grass down here. Well, it's Saturday afternoon. Ashley is at work and I've got Emma up here hanging out in her three-wheeler. So it's back to work on getting this place cleaned up. So I'm gonna move that up there for trash and the board as well because it's got nails in it and it's old. And then I'm gonna move the unused metal fencing behind the tiny house. And then it's time to go over and tackle the wood pile. So should be a fun experience. My four-wheeler trailer is a long time from being finished, but I've got the Polaris down here at the lumber pile, and I'm just going to load up this lumber and haul it right over there. I'm gonna see if it's practical to save those steps or not, but at least it'll be fun while we try it. Oh yeah, much better. Definitely worth stacking on top of here so I don't have to walk from there to here with all this lumber. So I'm going to use 2 of these as runners on the bottom and then stack everything else on top so that not everything is touching the ground. So let me move this to behind the tiny house. I got 2 loads of lumber moved over to the new place behind the tiny house, and it began to rain, which is a good thing. I had planned on using that 100 gallons from the ram pump to just go out here and start watering, and I probably will still have to because I don't think it's supposed to rain a whole lot, but I'm very glad that it's doing something because rainwater is always better than water from the creek. So Ashley is not feeling very well today, and so I'm going to go to town and get some supper and stop by grocery store and get some things for the upcoming week. And to get back home, I do have to go in to work tonight, so definitely gonna be a long night. Well, I am in the workshop today working on the four-wheeler cart. My main task today was to get the lock coupler onto the pole, and I have just accomplished that. And then I have the actual bed part of the trailer out here drying in the sun because it's wet wood and it is so heavy. So I'm gonna give that a couple of days before I really work with it. Hopefully it'll dry out some. Not exactly sure how much water is up in the water barrels, but the ram pump is going and I'm Gonna slowly give the grass a little bit of water here, at least enough to tide them over to the next good rain. Just in case you missed the series on building our house, our well over here, the gray rock, has a refill rate of about a half gallon a minute with storage of 500 gallons. So I don't really want to use a lot of our water for watering grass, especially if I have a creek with ram pump available. I am actually quite impressed with the flow from the ram pump here. It's got quite a decent little spray. You may remember a few years ago I tested out the 1/2-inch ram pump, and I made this tower that was 10 foot tall with these couplings and pipe. Well, it makes an awesome stand for my waterer here. So I think I'm just going to let it sit a few minutes in each spot and then maybe move it down the hill some and let it continue to water, but it's working out really well. So the four-wheeler is amazing to drive around. I really enjoyed it, and it's soon going to be a very important work machine on the property, but it is not actually approved for Emma, which is a good thing. So we are doing one of our favorite activities, and that is going for a little stroll in the woods, which has actually become one of my favorite things lately. Just taking her out for a little walk behind the house. The four-wheeler has become very handy on this load. These boards are really heavy, and I was able to get 2 of them on here at a time. And I'm not sure, those must be what, 14 footers? They're very long. Well, the top one is, the bottom one's not quite as long, but so I got those 2, and then I have 2 more to go up here at the house, and I'll have all that stuff cleaned out, which will be so nice. I finished moving the lumber pile. It looks much better over here. Definitely going to be using more of this in the future, but I'm glad it's out of the way. Also got these items moved, so up here in front of the house is really starting to look a lot nicer in preparation for that Shelter Logic tent that's coming. It's really fun back in here. This trail here is about 2 miles long or so. The total trails around the property, not my property, but in this community, probably about 7 to 10 miles, I'd say. And then you go across the road, and there's about the same amount over there. So plenty of land to drive around on. I'm just wrapping up the 2 ram pumps, 1 delivery pipe video. Man, that was a lot of walking up and down that hill to give some results. But it was definitely worth it because it worked. So that was good. Well, I've been watering the grass in the back of the house with well water because I think one of my garden hoses has a leak and it's causing the ram pump to shut off after a few minutes. So I'm gonna have to get that fixed. What I'm doing is slowly replacing my garden hose with a more permanent solution, and that is going to be this 3/4 inch black poly pipe that you see right here. And when I do that, I'll know that there are no leaks along the way. So that's fun. Well, today I'm going to be going to the gym, hopefully. I missed it yesterday. I've never been very strong with like bench press and all that. I have a bad back for anything low back or low stuff, but last week I was able to get 265 for 1 on bench press, which was pretty good for me. So I'm looking forward to going back today and trying it again. So far, Ashley has been using iMovie on the Mac for all of her videos, and she's decided it's time to step up. And so Emma and I are teaching her Premiere Pro.
She's like, okay, now I want to eat the camera.
Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Yeah. Well, we decided to meet up with some friends this evening, and we went to the Olive Garden for supper. It was delicious, but it is now 8:30 at night on Wednesday. Ooh, you can't see a thing. Where's my light? Here we go. Which means it's time to get this video edited so you can watch it tomorrow. Thank you so much for being part of this vlog. I had most of 2 days off, more than usual, but I still went to work, and so anyway, it was a nice long week for me. Got a lot of things done. Next week I'm going to be installing something called a Shelter Logic shed in a box, which should be fun. I'm going to store the four-wheeler and the trailer and wheelbarrows, lawnmower, all that good stuff in there, so should be fun. So something to look forward to. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Seth Johnson with Land House, and I will see you next time. Bye. If you want to pump creek water for livestock or a garden, check out the Ram pump. This amazing water pump requires no fuel and no electricity to work. Installation is quite simple. Just place the pump in the creek, run a drive pipe to bring water to the pump, and install a delivery pipe to take water uphill. To start the pump, simply push this check valve down and it will begin on its own, running 7 days a week, 365 days a year. To learn more about the Ram pump, go to my website, landtohouse.com. I have 4 different size models for sale and lots of information. Now, if the Ram pump is not your thing, check out my YouTube channel, Land to House, where I have lots more content for you to enjoy.